The regular meeting of the Aurora City Council for August 28, 2023 is on. It is called to order. Would the clerk please read the roll?
Mayor Kaufman.
Here.
Councilmember Bergen.
Here.
Councilmember Coombs.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Gardner.
Here.
Councilmember Drinsky.
Here.
Councilmember Lawson.
Here.
Councilmember Marcano.
Present.
Councilmember Medina.
Here.
Councilmember Murillo.
Present.
Councilmember Sundberg.
Here.
And Councilmember Zvonek.
Present.
There's a quorum.
Announcement for the call-in line.
City Council welcomes feedback from the public on both matters appearing on the agenda and during public invited to be heard. If you would like to speak and have not already spoken to an operator, please press *3. For those watching on Channel 8, call 855-695-3475 and press *3 when connected. You will hear a prompt confirming you are in line to speak to an operator and then be able to continue listening to the meeting. When the operator comes on the line, please be ready to give them your name and agenda item you wish to speak on. Keep in mind you must press *3 before the city clerk reads the title of the item you wish to speak on. Finally, as a reminder, council does not allow comments about any items on the agenda during public invited to be heard. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes, and public invited to be heard is limited to 1 hour in total.
El Consejo Municipal de la Ciudad de Aurora da la bienvenida a la opinión de sus habitantes y otros vecinos en asuntos comparecientes en la agenda y durante la invitación a la audiencia. Esta sesión tiene disponible interpretación al español. Cualquier persona que estuviera presente que quisiera servicios de interpretación, tenemos a la entrada del edificio, pueden venir, a la entrada de la puerta, podrían venir a buscarnos para buscar equipo, si quiere escuchar toda esta sesión en español. Recuerde que el Consejo no permite comentarios de la audiencia mientras se dirige en asuntos de la agenda del día. Por favor, confirme su turno y espere a ser invitado para poder comentar. Muchísimas gracias.
Please join me. Please join me in an invocation. Dear Lord, we pray that you will bless and guide the decisions we make tonight. We pray for your wisdom and clarity of thought for everybody in the council chamber this evening, and we pray that you will bless our city with thriving industry, ample education opportunities, and sound government. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Executive session update. In executive session, we discussed financing for water rights and negotiations to provide service outside the city of Aurora for water. Prior to, approval of the minutes, motion is in order.
Mayor, I move to approve both sets of minutes.
Second.
Motion is in order for approval of the minutes for July 31st, 2023 and August 14th, 2023. Councilmember Sundberg.
I'm sorry, sir, what was the question?
Please repeat your motion.
Oh, sir, I move to approve both sets of meeting minutes, July 31st and August 14th.
Okay, very well. It's been moved by Councilmember Sundberg, seconded by?
Me.
Councilmember Bergen to approve the minutes for July 31st, 2023 and August 14th, 2023. Discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is approval of the minutes for July 21st, 2023, August 14th, 2023. Call for the question.
Mayor Kaufman.
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Drinsky.
Yes, it didn't come up in eScribe.
Okay. Councilmember Sundberg.
Yes.
The motion passes to adopt the July 31st and August 14th City Council minutes.
Proclamation, National Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month. Mayor Pro Tem Gardner.
Adrian? No. Whereas September is recognized as Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month to start and continue discussions about suicide, destigmatize it, and help connect people with the appropriate support services. And whereas, according to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, suicide is the second leading cause of death among individuals between ages 10 and 34, with more than 48,000 people dying by suicide annually in the United States. And whereas, per Hope for the Day, the average 132 daily suicides each directly impacts 100 additional people, family, friends, service team members, social media connections, and neighbors. Thus, it can be safely assumed that most persons have been impacted in some way by suicide. And whereas 988 Lifeline, formerly the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, is a national network of local crisis centers that provides free and confidential emotional support to people in suicidal crisis or emotional distress via phone or text 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in the United States. And whereas being considerate and mindful and understanding the realities surrounding despair and suicide are important for every person, so we can recognize warning signs that loved ones may be exhibiting, opportunities to help and support people in crisis, to have the hard conversations and keep them open, as every life is worth saving. Now, therefore, I, Mike Kaufman, Mayor of the City of Aurora, Colorado, do hereby proclaim September 2023 as National Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Aurora, Colorado, to be affixed this day, the first day of September 2023.
Hello. The stats for Colorado regarding suicide have come in, and it pains me to say that suicide is a cause for death for Colorado was number 1 in children from the ages of 10 to 14, and number 2 for ages 15 to 44. According to the Colorado Health Institute, less than a third of Coloradans were diagnosed with mental disorder, anxiety, depression, and things of that nature, and who committed suicide received mental health. However, less than 1/3 is not good enough, and I would like to see us going forward, all of us, to do whatever we can to support some organizations out there to assist people in getting them the help that they need. Let's raise that percentage by talking about the importance of mental health. Please, let's stop hiding it. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Gardner, Mayor, and City Council. Thank you.
National Hispanic Heritage Month, Councilmember Murillo and Councilmember Medina, and Councilmember McConnell.
Hello, okay, yes. William Pineda, founder of the Salvadorian Association, thank you, and welcome. And if we do have the president of Amigos de Mexico and the president of the Colombian Association present, please feel free to join us down here as well. All right. Whereas September 15th to October 15th was designated as National Hispanic Heritage Month in 1988 to celebrate the histories, cultures, and contributions of American residents whose ancestors came from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central and South America. And whereas Aurorans who identify themselves as Hispanic, Latino, Latinx, Chicano, or Indigenous have contributed greatly to our city's history and successes. And while Aurora appreciates the cultural heritage and historical legacies all of our people bring to the city, we honor especially our Hispanic population during this month. And whereas Aurora Hispanic community now constitutes more than 28% of the city's population, and the Hispanic community continues to expand opportunities for a successful future, providing leadership as policymakers, educators, and students as members of the judicial, military, and public safety services, and as professionals in the trade and business who are actively involved in their communities and in mentoring the next generation. And whereas this month we proudly join in the nation in celebrating the rich culture and history of Hispanic heritage in Aurora, as we dedicate ourselves to working together to continue to address the challenges still facing Hispanic Aurorans in equity and access to the prosperity of Aurora. Now, therefore, I, Mike Kaufman, Mayor of the City of Aurora of Colorado, do hereby proclaim September 15th through October 15th as National Hispanic Heritage Month. And in Aurora, and encourage all members of the community to applaud Hispanic Americans for their contributions to Aurora, Colorado, and the United States of America. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Aurora to be affixed this 11th day of September 2023. Thank you.
Mayor,
Thank you.
Mayor, we have somebody who would like to speak on item 7A, the National Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month proclamation.
Very well.
Okay, Robbie DeYoung.
Mayor, council members, I want to thank you very much for bringing this proclamation up. I never got to meet my dad's mom. She committed suicide when my mom was pregnant with me. To just let everybody know, she called my mom after 9 o'clock at night. And until my mom passed away, she would never take a call again after 9 o'clock at night. It affects everyone for not just days, not just weeks, months and years. And I never got to know her, and that affects me. So I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Land acknowledgement. The City of Aurora acknowledges that we gather on the territories and ancestral homelands of the Cheyenne, Ute, Arapaho, and Lakota peoples, past and present. We also recognize the 48 contemporary tribal nations that are historically tied to the lands that make up the state of Colorado. Indigenous people have remained committed to the stewardship of this land over many centuries. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties that these nations have to their traditional homelands and to their vital place in the ecosystem are renewed and reaffirmed, and we are called to be better stewards of the land we inhabit, and we continue to work to meet the needs of our entire community. Prior to public invited to be heard, I want to read a statement, public decorum announcement. Council has created a public forum and wants to receive citizen input. The forum provides the most protection for free speech and is the most scrutinized speech by courts. You are asked to follow the same rules that council follows, including no attacks of a personal nature or causing a disturbance. We would ask you to refrain from using profanity. As children may be watching, the mayor has been requested by council to admonish speakers for noncompliance. Please respect those who are speaking, whether you are in agreement with the content or not. Outbursts from anyone is not permitted. Please refrain from clapping, snapping, cheering, or booing to allow everyone the opportunity to be heard. Council shall be given opportunity to address staff, to exchange contact information when the speaker is at the podium. Council may clarify statements related to any speaker's comments at the conclusion of public invited to be heard, but shall not enter into debate with the speakers. Public invited to be heard.
We have Jeff Sanford, followed by Pamela Dickerson.
Thank you. Mayor Goffman, Major Pro Tem Gardner, longtime listener, first-time speaker, so bear with me. I'd like to start off with thanking you for your service. As political representatives of Aurora, you are critical. The political rhetoric needs to stop. Those of you who zealously represent your constituents and use objective data, I applaud. So I know being citizen members, it's difficult. I also really want to recognize the city attorney, Mr. City Attorney, Madam Clerk, for your professionalism and your ethical conduct in these recent events throughout the district court and otherwise. I hope sometime that the media will take a balanced approach for our city. But again, thank you very much for your service. That is all.
Pamela Dickerson, followed by Cheryl Sape.
Hello. Thank you for hearing me. I am Pamela Dickerson. I'm the president of the Colorado Citizens for Canine Welfare. I thank you for bringing the ordinance to prohibit the retail sale of puppies and kittens in pet stores to the agenda. I sent all of you an email on Friday about how does a breeder breed for health and longevity, which our consumers deserve. None of the puppies that come into pet stores are bred for health and longevity, and I can prove it easily, and you now can prove it if you read my note. In addition, every store claims I buy from only wonderful, responsible breeders. I get state statistics on which stores get puppies from which breeders from out of state. Every single store in Colorado buys from puppy mills. Puppy mills do not breed for health or longevity. So when they try and tell you I'm just a small store owner buying from good sources, it's not true. They may buy from a source here in Colorado, but the out-of-state sources are puppy mills. And there are thousands of puppies that they import every year that are not bred for health or longevity that do come from cruel puppy mills. I hope you will support the ordinance on the agenda. Thank you.
Let me remind everybody that the fact that this issue is up, to please wait for just prior to when the issue comes up, and I'll recognize you at that time. Am I correct? Yeah, when the agenda item comes up.
Correct.
Okay. Please proceed.
Cheryl Sape, followed by Susan Kabir.
We're going to speak for 14B.
Okay, and Susan as well? Yeah. Okay, and Mark Arthur Clee.
Take my hat off, okay? Hello? Ladies and gentlemen of Aurora, Colorado Legislature, I stand before you today to address a matter of utmost urgency. The escalating impact of climate change on our world and the undeniable need for immediate action. Our planet is facing a crisis that transcends borders, political affiliations, and personal beliefs. The signs are all around us: extreme weather events, rising sea levels, and record-breaking temperatures. As responsible stewards of our community's future, we have a moral obligation to act now. Climate change is no longer a distant threat. It is a reality that affects us right here in Aurora. We've witnessed devastating fires. My daughter lives in Maui. That is currently, they're still trying to get that place out. Yet amidst the challenge, there is hope. Solar energy emerges as a beacon. Renewable energy sources like solar power offer several critical advantages. Solar panels can be installed all over the place. Aurora has the potential of becoming a shining example of a community committed to renewable energy by harnessing the power of our abundant sunlight. We can create local jobs, stimulate economic growth, and set an example for others to follow. My daughter just had a baby. I now have a grandson. I also have a granddaughter, but this grandson, his name is Zion. And the fires, and they keep on climate change. Canada's on fire for 6 months, climate change. And you look on top of the library and there's a nice little square of solar panels, a nice little one. How about all of it? Just put them up. Every taxpayer I've talked to wants them all over the place. If not taxpayer money, you guys are good friends with Elon Musk, right? See, I can tell. Tell him, hey, you don't need to go to Mars. Spend $1 trillion on solar panels. That's all I got to say. Good night.
Sosi Bakiaru.
My first time speaking, so I apologize in advance. I want to speak about the homeless situation. Our homeless situation has been multiplying, and it has been enough number of years to have had a decent solution in place. This sweeping by the police seems to me to be a temporary harassment at best. I understand you are the people in charge of taking care of the public needs in Aurora. You have voluntarily taken this job on and the responsibility. You have noticed many people are living in tents. Small villages have been built in many locations. I drive by them every day. I have noticed that their living conditions are not acceptable, or nor should it be acceptable by civilized human standards. There is much trash collecting around them. That is not good for them or for anybody outside of that village. There is no public restroom facilities available, no water fountains anywhere. At the very least, when people are not in the jungle, in wilderness survival mode, all civilized societies should allow access for all people to be able to pee, poop, wash their faces in private and in dignity. I see that their basic level of public service is not something your leadership has found to be a priority item for the public you are elected to serve. My feeling is that I certainly pay enough taxes to cover at least trash collection every once in a while and a porta potty for people to use and have dignity. Any excuses, explanations you may feel you have do not matter. It's been enough number of years. You cannot point your finger to the public servants under you because they depend on, are bound by, the rules that you set. I don't even know what you have in place to protect the vulnerable, youth, the women, the children on the streets. My personal feeling is that you have certainly failed in this item for public service. In the private sector, there would be reviews, demotions, and terminations. The public you answer to is everyone, not just the rich, not the poor, not just the healthy, not just the sick. Public service should serve all the public, not only the ones you like. Thank you for your attention.
Robbie DeYoung.
Mayor, Council. For almost 2 years now, I have been dealing with stolen and vandalized vehicles in Colorado, primarily here in Aurora. But I have almost 1,800 members on my Nextdoor account now. And they are from all over Colorado. I've been working, I literally do this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's something that I don't mind doing and I enjoy doing when I can help people with their problems. I am very upset with a situation in my neighborhood and in many others. I'll give you the example about my neighborhood. I reported a Mazda that was parked by my mailbox cluster 3 weeks ago. The officer came out right away, tried to contact the owner of the vehicle. He was, I'm assuming, not able to, but the vehicle was not stolen. But this vehicle was minus its moonroof. It was minus its back window. The front window looked like somebody took a baseball bat to it. One of the side passenger windows, driver window, was bashed out, and both of the side mirrors were gone. 3 weeks later, I've reported it again, and it's still there, and I've been told it might be another 4 weeks before it's removed. Come on, that's ridiculous. Down the street from where this car is parked, there's a Jeep. That's been there for about 2 weeks now. Same thing. It was not reported as stolen, but the moonroof is out, the front windshield is bashed in, the side mirrors are gone. There's even keys inside the vehicle with the ignition looking like it's damaged, but it wasn't reported as stolen. And it's still there, and apparently the officer that did write it up has not come back and done his due diligence on that. Doesn't matter. It's still going to take weeks before that apparently is removed. There was another vehicle in the same neighborhood. The moonroof was gone, the side mirrors were gone, the back window was out, the front window looked like somebody took a baseball bat to it. All 4 tires were gone. That vehicle had been reported as stolen and recovered. I am seeing this dumping everywhere. Now, there's one of 2 reasons for that. Either the community is apathetic and feels like nothing will be done, and they are not reporting these crimes as they are actually happening. We need to do better. We need to do better for our community and let them know we're behind them. Thank you.
That was the last individual.
The question before us now is the adoption of the agenda. Motion is in order.
Mayor.
I'm sorry, Councilmember McConnell.
Thank you, sir. I would move to adopt the agenda with 16A being moved up to the front of the agenda.
And I'll second that.
Very well. What do we do? Do we still? Oh, adoption, okay. Okay, very well. It's been moved by Councilmember McConnell, seconded by Councilmember Jurinski to move 16A to the front of the agenda. Discussion? Seeing none, call for the question on the motion to adopt the agenda.
Okay. Mayor, this is for approval of the agenda with item 16A moved up to the front.
Mayor votes yes.
Okay, Mayor, we do have one person that got missed for public invited. If we can call him now. Tanya Tabachek.
Sorry, good evening, Mayor and council members. I was just going off of what Robert Young was speaking last Tuesday. My sister's daughter's car was stolen from Rangeview, middle of the day.
and I don't know, I guess they don't have cameras. Someone asked if the schools have cameras, but I've been told no. We went on next door neighbor and so forth. We did find it on Thursday. The police had found it. It was by a trailer that was unmarked, and I guess there was a gun beside the trailer. And also inside my niece's car was some clothes and a TV. So I just wanted to put that point out there. And also, in addition to the homelessness, I'd sent an email concerning the homelessness to many different council members. Denver right now, there's businesses that are closing down. Haven't really heard many in Aurora, but there are businesses that are threatening that have been here for years, and the homeless population is taking over. It's like they're taking over and they're shutting down our businesses. And this is ridiculous. We need to take some kind of action on this. I don't know how, and I know that we have different priorities and giving money to different developments and so forth, but this is a big deal. I mean, soon there's going to be no businesses in Aurora. I know that in San Francisco, they're thinking about shutting that down soon because of the homeless population. So I'm just thinking that's a very important issue I want to speak on as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Very well. We already voted?
Item 16A,
Okay, very well.
Resolution 2023-84, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Aurora, Colorado, supporting the appropriation of general fund revenues to develop an economic development plan. And Mayor, we do have somebody signed up to speak on this item.
Very well. Proceed with the speakers.
Okay. Raymond Gonzalez.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Raymond Gonzalez, former Adams County Manager, and now the President of Metro Denver Economic Development Corporation and the Executive Vice President of the Denver Metro Chamber of Commerce. We have been doing economic development for more than 40 years in partnership with 9 counties along the Front Range, and I am happy to announce we will be signing an MOU with Colorado Springs Chamber and EDC, making it our 10th county. I am here tonight to express the amazing partnership we have with Aurora Economic Development Council under the leadership of Wendy Mitchell. AEDC joins MDEDC in its pursuit of attracting major companies and investments and has partnered with MDEDC in our domestic recruitment program and serves on our host committee for our annual site selection conference as members of our Front Range Economic Development Collaborative. Wendy and her team are well respected and are known as seasoned economic development practitioners who close deals. I've also had the pleasure of working closely with the City of Aurora in my former role as Adams County Manager. The City of Aurora has a solid vision and an effective economic development strategy already in place that has landed several of the major companies and investments that exist in Aurora today. Aurora is a model that other communities want to replicate. You are simply the best. I urge Aurora City Council to continue to support AEDC in its current role as leading the economic development efforts on behalf of the City of Aurora. Thank you.
That was the last person. There's somebody else.
Very well. So I put this forward, this proposal forward, and the reason why I put this proposal forward is the fact that we don't have an economic development plan. What's that?
Mayor, we have to do a motion in a second to take it off the table.
Okay. I thought we did that. Oh, we did the motion was on the agenda? Very well. I move item number 16A.
To remove it from the table?
Yes.
Second.
Moved by the mayor, seconded by Councilmember Bergen. We have to vote?
Yes.
Very well. Discussion on the motion to take item number 16A off the table?
Mayor Jurenski.
Councilmember Jurenski.
I just hope that you understand that we have come together, I think, united completely as a council we're done with this game. This feels very much like a game. You have brought this, I don't know how many council meetings now, and it's really sad to see how personal this has become for you and this personal vendetta you have against Wendy Mitchell. This feels very much like a bad divorce between mom and dad, and the 10 of us are caught in the middle of it, and quite frankly, dad's being a dick.
Further discussion? The question before us then is to take item number 16A off the table. Call for the question.
Mayor Kaufman?
Mayor votes yes.
The motion passes unanimously to take item 16A off the table.
Well, I do care deeply about this issue, and this is why. That we should be able to have an economic development plan, an economic development strategy. When I was at the annual planning meeting, and I believe we had Janine Rusted was there, our planning director, former city manager Jim Twomley was there, Councilmember Bergen was there, and I was there. And it was at that time that Wendy Mitchell said that the city of Aurora shouldn't go forward with an economic development plan. And I called then Yuri after that and said, can you send me the ADC's economic development plan? He said, we don't have one. He said, what we have is strategic objectives for our organization, but we don't have a plan. And what a plan is, it's a vision. It's an aspiration for what the city's capable of doing in terms of attracting targeted businesses and industries that provide jobs that pay a living wage to the city. And if you want to see what it looks like to have economic development without those goals, without a vision, go to the northern part of Ward 2, where we've had such an expansion of warehouse distribution that we didn't quite figure out how to accommodate all of the semis and tractor trailers. And so what staff is scrambling to do right now is to find developers that are willing to build these, not the truck stops you see off the side of the road, but massive truck stops that have overnight parking for semis and tractor trailers, because under federal regulations, when these drivers reach their limit, they have to stop. They have no choice but to stop. And so we have illegal parking all over that area, and it's problematic. But we shouldn't be afraid. I'm so afraid to ask the question about what are we capable of being as a city? What do about a third of this city is undeveloped. We have a landmass a little larger than Denver with almost a third undeveloped. And so there's going to be a lot of pressure on that development. And I get it. If you're a commercial developer, you want to build what is profitable at that point in time, maybe today. And it's up to the council to define what is appropriate in terms of that impact of that development tomorrow. And that piece is missing. That piece is just missing. And so I realize that this is kind of the windmill approach, but in terms, it's like, or better put, it's more like going against a dug-in entrenched enemy in a frontal assault without supporting arms, no air support, no artillery, and it usually doesn't go well. But the fact is that this is your responsibility up here. It's not their responsibility. It's your responsibility to come up with a vision, an economic vision for the city of what we aspire to be. And for you to outsource that to the people out there is simply inappropriate. Their responsibility is to make money. I get that. And let me tell you, commercial developers, they take tremendous risk. I mean, I was in business for 17 years, but it was a services-related business, and it didn't have the upside of commercial developers, but it didn't have the risk where they put their money on the line. It's a tough business. I respect them for what they do, but we have an obligation here to the residents of the city, that's beyond the people in front of us, to have an aspirational vision of what this city can be. And we should never surrender that and outsource that to those who seek to profit from the city. But nothing wrong with that. But economic development without a vision is exploitation. We need to balance the two together and do our job, do our responsibility, and they'll do theirs. But don't neglect your responsibility.
Mayor?
Councilmember Bergen.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So I have been on the AEDC board for a number of years. I also am on the executive board, so I did attend the retreat where you were present as well. I don't remember Wendy Mitchell saying that, but I will say that we did have a facilitator, and we had an exercise that day where we looked at what we wanted in terms of objectives for the new upcoming year. We laid out the vision. Of course, the strategic plan that they do have is available to us. It's on all the materials at every AEDC meeting that is monthly. But what I want to say is that I think we came up with some good objectives that day. We went around the room and really collaborated, and people did speak about what they wanted to see in the city, what we wanted to focus on. I know that aerospace and bioscience were some of the industries that came up that day. And I do know where you're coming from, Mayor, in terms of wanting the city to have a plan. I think personally, this has been very difficult to be put in the middle, as Councilmember Jurenski stated earlier. And I hope that council will be able to come together and that we can meet with our partners and work together.
Further discussion?
Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem Gardner.
Thank you. Yeah, well, first of all, I can't believe we're having this conversation again. Feels like Groundhog Day. So you're either being disingenuous or just outright lying and saying that we don't have an economic development plan. We do. Aurora Places, and I'm going to hold this up. Maybe the camera can zoom in on this. We have page after page that talks about what our economic development plan, and I can share my laptop, Mayor, if you'd like to see that. We've been through this over and over and over again. This document, it's dozens and dozens of pages that talks about the kind of industries that we're going to bring in here, what areas of the city we're going to do what type of development, on and on and on. That is an economic development plan. That is a comprehensive plan. It covers what's going to happen in the city. And, frankly, after you almost single-handedly sabotaged bringing Elitch's to Aurora, I'm not sure I want you anywhere near our economic development in the city after what we've seen in the last week and a half. We should not be any more involved than what's in our comprehensive plan. That is our job, is to make land use decisions and to put a plan in place of what we want to see and then let the private sector do it. I know what your goal is. Your goal is to bring an Office of Economic Development into the city and have the city run it like they do in Denver, which is a disaster. And as long as I'm on council, I'm going to fight to make sure that never happens.
That's not my goal. And just let me say this, that if anybody, the last quarterly workshop is online. And in the last quarterly workshop, you can see Mayor Pro Tem Gardner arguing with staff, arguing with those members of staff that that have jobs related to economic development against having an economic development plan. And they were arguing for it because it has the kind of specificity that is necessary to have a vision. Further discussion?
Mayor.
Councilmember McConnell.
I think Councilmember Gardner beat me to the punch, Mayor.
Councilmember Gardner, Mayor Pro Tem Gardner.
Yeah, I'm guessing staff and the consultants are really interested in doing an economic development plan that you want to fund because it gives them job security, it funds consultants, on and on and on. So I'm sure they're definitely in favor of that.
Our staff? Okay. Further discussion?
Mayor.
Councilmember McConnell.
Thank you, sir. So I want to address the resolution before us here. First, this is not an economic development plan. This is a rough draft of an idea. And that a fleshed out plan would at minimum include a fully developed vision, concrete deliverables, clear expectations from our partners, a timeline for implementation, a detailed fiscal note, and here's the key thing, consensus from the community, from our economic development partners, and from this body. So doing that properly is something that would take time because we need to bring in community voices, we need to expand the table of our organizational partners, and we need to conduct the research necessary to ensure that we're informing our vision for the city's economic future, which includes amendments to our comprehensive plan and our unified development ordinance both, because land use ties very, very closely into all of this, y'all. We have an opportunity to begin this process earlier in the year, but because you didn't get 100% of what you wanted, you decided to can this whole process instead of working with the rest of us. Here we are today. This rough draft doesn't constitute a plan. I'd recommend picking this topic up at an upcoming workshop after stakeholding with council and our existing partners. And I just want to point out that the entrenched enemy framing that you used is indicative of the problem of how we got here. And our city deserves better than that.
Thank you. And let me just say this is the first step. This is not a plan. This doesn't, there's an amendment. Two individuals reached out to me. Councilmember Sundberg and Councilmember Coombs. And so in Councilmember Sundberg, I think his amendment speaks to, or the concept that he came up with that we'll hopefully hear soon is that what that does is it says let's inventory what our current partners are doing, our economic development partners are doing from AEDC to the Chamber to Visit Aurora. And which makes sense, but that's just, I would think that even without that amendment, those doing the study would want to understand what we're currently doing. But what's important is that it's an independent study. And the reason why that's so important is because of the fact that if you go to our existing partners, they're probably going to tell you what they're doing, and they're going to tell you everything's fine. But to do an independent study would say that there are industries, clusters that maybe we're not looking at right now that we could see. And so, of course, it's not an economic development plan. It's only the first step. And an economic development plan would then come back to the council for a vote. I mean, it wouldn't be automatically put in place. Further discussion.
Mayor.
I'm sorry.
Mayor.
Councilmember Coombs.
So I think that, as you said, this is not a plan. It's also premature, which is what we said before, and there are things we asked you to do and asked if we could do, and those were brushed aside. Before we outsource economic development planning to a consultant, who we would have to pay, we can gather data from our city staff, we can gather data from our city partners, and that data that you would need for an independent study is data that we already have access to and that we can get. By paying a consultant, we don't bypass the need to work with our partners to get that data, which is something we could have easily been doing this whole time if you had been able to agree with council on that item. We can look at our comprehensive plan. That is something that was proposed that hasn't been done. And we need to have stakeholder conversations with our community. I think there are a lot of people who haven't been at the table that we need to bring to the table. We need to break down silos, and we need to have everyone who has a stake in economic development at the table. And we can do that without outsourcing that and paying a consultant to do it. And then we can have those conversations about whether or not we feel like we have enough data to modify the vision we already have. It's not a question of do we have a vision at all, it's are there changes we need to make? Change is inevitable, and there is value in reevaluating what we're doing. But we didn't take any of the preliminary steps we would need to take before outsourcing this to a consultant, and so that's why I won't support this.
Further discussion.
Mayor.
Councilmember Sundberg.
With all due respect, sir, I believe wisdom and common sense has been trying to chase you down on this issue, but you've been moving way too fast. And solo, echoing what Councilmember Coombs and Francois Bergen has said, we've been imploring that we bring the major stakeholders to the table first, to honor them, to get their input, and to build trust. In a 3-hour summit, I think, is all it would take. They haven't gotten together for years. And I think stressing that first makes this thing seem less insidious. I think gathering the stakeholders, we would hear some fresh and exciting ideas. They probably have a wish list, and we're disconnected. Having done that first, then we could, I believe, and I agree with you, bring fresh eyes on the city. For example, you brought up the trucks, the semi-trucks. I visited 2 sites in Ward 2 today where semis are a problem. We didn't plan that properly. But here we are as a council. Council means a council. Sometimes we offer some wisdom, some advice. Ulysses S. Grant was a brilliant general. He got to the White House, and that intuition didn't do him good anymore. He then had to learn to take counsel and advice in his appointments and so forth. And I wouldn't mind a little LBJ too, sir. Work the phones, call us, build some consensus. And this is all with respect. And I would have voted yes on this if we prioritized the stakeholder meeting and summit.
Well,
Thank you, sir.
I believe that there's an amendment based on what you sent me that does exactly that.
Yes, sir, but it really wasn't emphasized clearly.
Okay.
I think it needs to be first and foremost, and really we need to honor these folks out here.
Look, I think I get where you are. I understand the fear factor that is before us, and it is what it is. And Aurora, at the end of this meeting, will not move forward to have its own vision. That vision will be defined by people in the audience who will decide what they want to build, when they want to build it, and where they want to build it.
Mayor.
Councilmember Coombs.
I'm going to need you to stop accusing the council of being cowards for asking you to do things and standing up to you when you don't do them. We are operating in the interests of our constituents and in the interests of what we would also like to see. We want to see collaboration, and we haven't seen that. That's not being cowards that are bowing down to outside pressure. That's saying, hey, we asked you to do something, you didn't do it, and therefore we haven't gotten where we need to be, so we're not going to get on board with this. It's very simple what needs to be done to make this happen, and it's very simple what the causes are, and it's not the cowardice of the council that's afraid of these folks out here. I'm not, in fact, afraid of these folks out here. I just want us all to work together.
Further discussion?
Mayor Jurenski.
Councilmember Jurenski.
I also don't take kindly to your fear factor comment. And in this entire thing, we've asked you to have conversations. We've asked you to bring these people to the table. We would like to be a part of the input, for the vision for the city. And it seems like, really, Mayor, the only fear, your boogeyman, is Wendy Mitchell. So call her, and start there, and have a conversation, and then talk to us.
Further discussion?
Mayor?
Councilmember Bergen.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And I have had this discussion with you about, looking at possibly a winter workshop where we would come together as a council. We did this years ago, actually. Probably Councilmember Lawson remembers, I don't know if that was like 6 or 7 years ago, where we came together with a facilitator and looked at a vision board as far as what we wanted the city to look like and put forth our ideas. We have a lot of smart people here and putting those ideas forward, and then looking at those goals and then working with our partners in terms of looking at any direction that we might be able to give to them, and input that we would get from them, I think would be very beneficial to all of us as well.
Further discussion? I see none. The question before us is the adoption of item number 16A. Call for the question.
Mayor.
We need a motion and a second.
Oh, there was never a motion for it? Okay. I move item number 16A.
Second.
Moved by the mayor, seconded by Councilmember Zvonek. Discussion, further discussion? Seeing none, call for the question on item number 16A.
The motion does not pass with 2 yes votes from Councilmember Zvonek and Councilmember Lawson and 8 no votes.
Oh, no.
Sorry, I meant to put no on,
Okay.
so please correct that.
Yes, we will make sure that's corrected.
Okay. Could now please read the title to item number 10? Oh, I'm sorry. The question before us is the adoption of the consent calendar, item number 10A1 to 10C2.
Mayor, motion to approve 10A1 through 10C2.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by
Coon.
Seconded by Councilmember Sundberg to approve 10A1 to 10C2. Discussion?
Mayor, we do have individuals signed up to speak on item 10A1, 10A3, and 10A4. For item 10A1, it's the call-in line. Susan?
Hello, this is Susan Kabachek, and I'm concerned about how I read that you're doing the water rates inside and outside. Well, let me tell you something. I think we were targeted because I don't know who did it, but we were targeted to the point where you decided how much water a family of 4 should use. You don't know my family. I feel like I'm in Germany again, you know? You don't know my family. I have a special needs son, and I wash more than the normal family of 4, and there's a reason for it that I don't have to go into. But I'm very concerned that I get this report, because I pay the bill. I get this report, and it has a graph of how much water I used last year and how much here, and I'm like, well, nobody asked me if I wanted them to do that. I guess I don't know how many other people that you decided that you would go individually and do it without their permission. I feel like I've been assaulted. I've been invaded. And so with this water thing that you're doing, something's wrong. Something's wrong. I should have been asked before you did this water survey of how much water I used last year and how much water I'm using, and telling me I'm using too much for a family of 4. Like I said, you don't know my family. You don't know what I have to do for my special needs son and what happens and why I wash more. And I'm very upset. I feel targeted. And I think if you want to do something like that, I don't even know if you did it to anybody else. But I'll tell you, I should have been notified before you did it. So now you've got this water company who, you decided, like Germany, we're going to decide what you will use and what you won't use, and your family size will determine it. And I'm very upset. I'm very surprised at you all. Thank you.
Okay, now we have Jeffrey Sanford. He signed up to speak for 10A2, 10A3, and 10A4.
Good evening. Hopefully I'll lighten the mood just a tad bit. 10A2, and I'm going to read off from it because I'm not a very good litigator. I recommend the legal analysis be reevaluated with facts presented as a reference to Aurora City Code 674, 9, and 10 do not apply. This is a recurring contract. From 2021 to 2022, my quick analysis after a round of golf on one of our great Aurora courses this weekend came up with $137,250 difference. Last year, city manager requested $437,250. This year, in your study packet, costs went up 10%. However, the amount remains the same. I can't quite get to that delta. Maybe somebody can explain that to me. And if we're so concerned about decorum and stakeholders, I'm an internal and an external. I highly suggest it be reevaluated, and a point of order should have been called into quorum if you guys police yourself, as opposed to this political theater, 16 getting moved up. I was planning to speak. No. I enjoyed the political theater. It was almost as good as Hamlet. So, any media outlets that want to come interview me as a citizen, as opposed to other folks, let me know. Madam City Clerk, the rest of the items I'm signed up for, delete me. I will email it. Thank you to you and to you for your comprehensive facts, not political theater. Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay, that was the last individual.
Question before us is the adoption of the consent calendar, item number 10A1 to 10C2. A motion?
Oh, we have Mayor Pro Tem Gardner motioned
Oh,
and
they already
Councilmember
did the motion.
Sundberg.
Very well. Further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, call for the question on the adoption of the consent calendar, item number 10A1 to 10C2.
Mayor Kaufman.
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Coombs.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes to adopt the consent calendar for motions.
Question before us now is the adoption of the consent calendar resolutions and ordinances, item number 11A1 to 11B3.
Mayor, motion to approve item 11A1 through.
Moved by the Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by?
Mark Coombs.
Seconded by Councilmember Lawson to approve item number 11A1 to 11B3. Discussion? Seeing none, call for the question on the adoption of the consent calendar, 11A1 to 11B3.
The motion passes to adopt the consent calendar for resolutions and ordinances.
Clerk, now please read the title to 12A, to item number 12A.
Item 12A is ordinance 2023-40, a public hearing and consideration of ordinance of the City Council of the City of Aurora, Colorado, amending various sections of Chapter 146 of the City Code of the City of Aurora, Colorado, to provide corrections, clarifications, and updates to the land use regulations of the Unified Development Ordinance.
Motion is in order.
Mayor, this is a public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Public hearing is now open. Presentation by staff.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council. My name is Nicole Ankeny, and I am the Manager of Planning, Design, and Construction for the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Department. Our department, in coordination with the Planning and Development Services Department, have identified several sections of the Unified Development Ordinance, or UDO, needing amended based upon clarifications, administrative errors, omissions, and recommendations from the development community. Though additional evaluation of the PRO's Dedication and Development Criteria Manual will occur over the next year, the following revisions to the UDO are intended to be a first step toward ensuring alignment between the two codes. So there are 4 sections of code that we are proposing to change. Section 146-4.3.18, which is schools, parks, and other lands for public facilities. This essentially clarifies language for consistency and reduces redundancies by removing the specifics of the methodology for land dedication standards from the UDO. This information is already provided and stated in the PRO's Dedication and Development Criteria Manual. Section 146-4.7.5 for required landscape. This revises language at the request of the development community to allow and regulate sidewalks for primary entry into residences within the public park, open space, and trail buffer zones. The third section is 146-4.7.9, fence and wall regulations. This revises the language, again at the request of the development community, to allow privacy fencing in lieu of the 3-rail fence to screen view into the side and rear yards on residential lots that abut public open space which are adjacent to a street, alley, or a shared drive. And the final section is Section 146-5.3.20, which is dealing with park development fees. This amends an administrative error by adding park development fees back into the city code, which were inadvertently omitted at the time of the initial UDO adoption.
Further, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So the title of the hearing and ordinance before you this evening is 2023-40. It's a public hearing and consideration of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Aurora, Colorado, amending various sections of Chapter 146 of the City Code of the City of Aurora, Colorado, to provide corrections, clarifications, and updates to the land use regulations of the Unified Development Ordinance, or UDO.
Is there anybody who wishes to speak on this issue?
No.
Very well. Questions of staff? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Motion is in order.
Mayor,
Councilmember Bergen.
motion to approve 12A.
Been moved by Councilmember Bergen, seconded by
Marcano.
Councilmember Marcano to approve 12A. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, the question before us is the adoption of item number 12A. Call for the question.
The motion passes to adopt item 12A.
Clerk, now please read the title to item number 12B.
Item 12B is ordinance 2023-41, a public hearing and consideration of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Aurora, Colorado, amending various sections of Chapter 146 of the City Code to address landscape, dimensional, and parking standards within the city.
Brief presentation by staff. Oh, I'm sorry. Public hearing is now open. Brief presentation by staff.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. This is also an amendment to the Unified Development Code, or Unified Development Ordinance, the city's zoning code. The proposed ordinance includes changes that add flexibility, correct discrepancies, and clarify specific allowances. Sections of the code addressed by this proposal include landscaping, dimensional standards, and parking. In general, these proposals respond to circumstances that have arisen where added flexibility or clarification is necessary, and also in keeping with the purpose and intent of the original requirement. Proposed revisions that allow more code flexibility include simplifying the rear setback allowance along alleys for residential products, as well as additional allowances for pedestrian sidewalks and related facilities within landscape buffers. Other changes include the removal of duplicative or outdated code sections and minor clarifications regarding to landscape materials. A public hearing was held August 9th at the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the ordinance amendments and found the proposal to be consistent with the comprehensive plan and the review criteria in the UDO. If there's any questions, I would try to answer them.
Does anybody wish to speak on this issue?
No.
Questions of staff? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. The motion is in order.
Mayor, I move to approve 12B.
Moved by Councilmember Sonnenberg, seconded by
Marcano.
Councilmember Marcano to approve item number 12B. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, the question before us is the adoption of item number 12B. Call for the question.
The motion passes to adopt item 12B.
Clerk, now please read the title to item number 13A.
Item 13A is introduction of ordinance 2023-42, amending section 7020 of the City Code of the City of Aurora, Colorado regarding designation of floodplain administrator.
A brief presentation by staff.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm Sarah Young, Assistant General Manager in the Aurora Water Department. Actually, 13A, B, and C are all related to the same item. historically, the Public Works Department and Aurora Water have split drainage duties in terms of different aspects of drainage review and acceptance of infrastructure in order to increase efficiencies as well as avoid confusion. Those have now been consolidated under Aurora Water. So these three items address different sections in different chapters within the code in order to do that. So 13A is a shift from the floodplain manager, from the city engineer who resides in Public Works, to the general manager of Aurora Water. And that's chapter 70, section 20.
Questions of staff? Public hearing is now closed. Motion is in order. Oh, I'm sorry. Ouch. Ouch. Motion is in order.
Mayor,
Mayor Pro Tem.
can we approve all three at once, or do we need to do them separately, City Attorney?
You may do all three.
Motion to approve 13A through 13C.
Second.
It's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Councilmember Bergen, to approve item number 13A, 13B, and 13C. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, call for the question on the adoption of, I'm sorry, is there any other information? This is all related, 13A, 13B, 13C?
Yeah, it's all related. Just a couple of points. So 13B just changes the responsibility for the review processes from Public Works into Aurora Water. And then the last one, and both of those are in section 138. The last one is actually just inconsistencies that were found in terms of the title of general manager. And so those inconsistencies were cleaned up in section 138. So, but yes, it's all related.
No, we were voting on
Very well. Okay.
13A through C.
Is there further discussion? Seeing none, call for the question on the adoption of item 13A, 13B, and 13C.
The motion passes to adopt items 13A, 13B, and 13C.
Will the clerk now please read the title to item number 13D?
Item 13D is Ordinance 2023-45, introduction of an ordinance amending Chapter 98 of the City Code of the City of Aurora, Colorado to add new sections to be numbered 98.1 and 98.2, authorizing the Director of Parks, Recreation, and Open Space to establish dedication and development criteria through adopted rules and regulations.
A brief presentation by staff.
Good evening again. For the record, my name is Nicole Ankeny, and I am the Manager of Planning, Design, and Construction for the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Department. Revisions to Chapter 98 of the City Code are needed to clarify the authority of the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Director to adopt the PROS, or Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Dedication and Development Criteria Manual, which is referenced in our Uniform Development Ordinance and referenced in my earlier item 12A. So these changes will add two new sections to Chapter 98. One is the authority to adopt rules and regulations. This adds a section giving the director the authority to promulgate rules and regulations known as the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Dedication and Development Criteria Manual. The second section is definitions and includes four for the Director of Parks, Recreation, and Open Space, park development fees, land dedication, and cash in lieu of land dedication.
Questions of staff? Seeing none, question before us is the adoption of item 13D. Did I already get a motion? Motion is in order.
Mayor.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Thank you, sir. Move to approve 13D.
Moved by Councilmember O'Connell, seconded by? Gardner. Mayor Pro Tem Gardner to approve item number 13D. Further discussion? Seeing no discussion, the question before us is the adoption of item number 13D. Call for the question.
The motion passes to adopt item 13D.
Will the clerk now please read the title to item number 14A?
Item 14A is finalizing of ordinance 2023-35, adding a section to the city code authorizing a reserve police force.
Brief presentation by staff.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Pete Schulte, Public Safety Client Manager, and I know Chief Acevedo is on his way down here. Just an update from where we were about a month ago. After the first reading of this ordinance, Chief Acevedo and I met with Councilmember Marcano, Councilmember Coombs, and added further limitations on who could be appointed by the police chief as a reserve police officer. And as a reminder of those, they were limited to a current city employee, a person associated with the tactical medic program, whether or not a city employee, C, a person participating in the Aurora Police Department Police Officer Cadet Program and in good standing in that program. D, a former city employee who retired in good standing would otherwise be eligible for rehire. And finally, a person who lives in the city of Aurora and has at least 5 years of law enforcement experience and left their prior law enforcement agency in good standing, has no prior disciplinary history while working in a law enforcement officer greater than a written reprimand or similar, and is fully certified as a Colorado Post peace officer in the state of Colorado. And for one of the first times in our code, we did define what good standing means, and it means that a person left or retired from employment on their own accord, not under investigation or in lieu of termination.
Questions of staff?
Mayor, we have 2 individuals signed up to speak on this item.
Very well.
Robbie DeYoung.
First of all, my grandson, I think, is somewhere up here. He may have gone outside. I just want him to know that it is not normal for me to only talk for 3 minutes. And you guys are making me do that. Okay. I'm about to say something that is not going to be pretty, but it's something I want you to consider regarding this. I am all for this program. I think it would be a great program to have. But there are requirements of our volunteers that there are people in the higher ups of the police department could not themselves pass. That's something we need to really consider. If you're going to pass it, if you're going to make this where you can't do this and you can't have this in your past, then that should apply to everyone, even our full-time officers. So let's keep that in mind. I am 100% behind our law enforcement. I love our law enforcement. I do. I will have their 6 every day of the week. But if we're going to apply this to one person, we apply it to all. Thank you.
Tanya Tabachek.
Council members and Mayor, I am for this. The one thing I really want to stress is the education and more exercises or interpersonal with the people that are with special needs that don't have the ability to communicate clearly, which is different than mental health. For those that cannot communicate clearly, just have more interactions and so forth, and understanding that they sometimes do not know what happens, but I am for this. Thank you.
That was the last individual.
Very well. Is there any else in the presentation by staff?
Mayor Ardas, Chief of Police. I like we said in the last couple of meetings, we really think this program is going to position us to meet the growing needs of a growing city, and it's so restrictive that some of the concerns that were expressed at a meeting the other day I think those concerns are really addressed by the restrictiveness of the policy. And I want to thank the Chair, Jurenski of Public Safety, and the council members, Combs and Marcano, for working on this. I believe that when we're done, we're going to have a model program for the rest of the country to follow. And it's going to be a great opportunity for us to actually, for our cadet program that we're just about to begin, to even add opportunities for those young people, maybe not so young people, to become reserve officers. It'll be part of our recruiting efforts. And lastly, for me, the timing was asked. Maisha Fields asked that at a meeting the other day, and I would argue that there's no better timing than now. Our department is under scrutiny like it's never been scrutinized, so if you're going to start a program where there are community concerns, it's best to start at a time when you're going to have an independent police monitor here for the next few years, and you will have, obviously, the Attorney General looking at our program to make sure it meets the needs of this community.
Mayor.
Councilmember Jurenski.
Yeah, thank you. So I was really happy to bring this ordinance forward, and I think that one thing that I just want to add is, as a reminder, the primary of this was to bring tactical SWAT medics on. So that continues to get overlooked. So I just want to mention that and thank Councilmember Coombs for having me at her town hall the other night to talk to more members of the community. And I hope that we have a consensus tonight that this could be a good thing. There are strict requirements for any reserve officers that come forward. And I was happy to bring this ordinance forward, and I hope that my colleagues will support it.
Further discussion?
Mayor.
Councilmember Bergen.
Just to address the comment that was made earlier on all officers having the same standards or requirements, could you address that, Chief?
Yes, for us, I think it was really important for the community to have faith and trust in the officers we're bringing on board. So they're actually going to go through the same hiring process in terms of the vetting, the testing that our police officers go through in terms of our lateral police officers that come to the modified classes. And we decided that, at least initially, we can always come back to the council later on, is really start with really tight restrictions, and as we show the results of the program, maybe we come back and 24 months, 36 months to maybe broaden it or loosen a couple things. At the end of the day, you're always better off starting with a narrow focus, test drive the program for 12, 18 months, and then see if there's any adjustments that need to be made to address any unforeseen circumstances or needs in terms of our policies. And we are coming back with the policy, should this pass today, before we operationalize this program.
But our officers have to meet all those, all of our officers have met those standards. I think that was her question.
Yes,
There was
absolutely.
kind of some doubt as to whether they all do. And they have all
Yes,
met.
ma'am. Yeah, so Councilmember Bergen, so part of the process, which is state mandated as well, is that our background investigators, APD's background investigators, have to go to the departments where these individuals worked prior and look at their file. So if there is something in the file, Chief Acevedo is going to look at it, and if it's greater than a written reprimand, that's when he gets to say, hey, this is not going to cut it. So same standards. We're not,
right.
These standards aren't stricter than what we're putting, what APD's putting their laterals.
Thank you.
Further
Mayor.
discussion? Councilmember Lawson.
Oh, I think it was Councilmember
I'm sorry,
Coombs.
who's it?
Just
Councilmember Coombs.
a quick follow-up on that. I think maybe what Ms. DeYoung was talking about is the fact that the standards we currently have aren't necessarily the standards we've always had, and the process we currently have isn't necessarily the process we've always had. So there are going to be some folks that were hired under previous standards and processes. I think we should still hold the high standards now. I hear absolutely what you're saying, and I don't want to say we're going to go back and change on those folks that are already in, right? I think we evaluate based on their performance now that they're here.
May I respond, Mayor, to that? I want the council, I want to thank this council for really spearheading, thanks to the consent decree, the ability of the police department to handle recruitment. And I'm going to let you know that I think we're going to have upwards of 35 cadets in the September 11th class, which is a huge win. Talked to the commissioner outside, to Barbara about it. And it's not that whether it's they were doing a bad job or not, it's just that we are now actually handling with the city, and Ryan and his team are doing a phenomenal job. And I am going to say that we've actually increased in terms of the standards, the hiring practices, because they're now being scrutinized. I've personally done with Chief Jules, Deputy Chief Morris, we've called in a handful of candidates and had chief's interviews with those individuals if there was any questions. I think we've done about 5 or 6, and right now at about 5 or 6, it was either 3 or 4 that we passed through, and then some we did. So I would say that that's never happened before. You've never had chiefs interviews, executive team interviews. So in that sense, we've actually increased the scrutiny. And for reserve officers, I want to personally meet every single one before we give that final approval.
Yeah. Further discussion?
Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Yeah, so a couple things. First, I want to clarify, because I drew the ire of Councilmember Jurenski, I am supportive overall of this ordinance. The issue that I have, and I just want to reiterate it, we need to make sure that we are pulling in the fire department when we are bringing forward ordinances that impact the fire department. I've said that again and again and again and again, and I will continue to do it. But that's my concern here. I am glad to hear that Chief Otten is not going to allow Aurora firefighters to participate in this program. Medical practitioners, those that are to provide medical care in our community, should not be carrying a weapon. The mindset and the personality and the what you need to provide medical care is completely different than what you need to provide law enforcement to the community. Neither one's good or bad. They're just completely different. So I'm glad to hear that Chief Otten is going to put a policy in place to not allow his firefighters to participate in this program. But to be clear, I am supportive of this program, but I am not supportive of our firefighters participating.
Well, how could they? They're not post-certified.
And I would,
Chief, yeah, go ahead.
And I would, Mayor, I just want to reiterate, I think it's important because we did have meetings with the fire executive team. I just think there was a miscommunication, because I would never, pretend to do or put something in place for my colleague without letting our colleagues at the fire department come forward. So you have our commitment. We would never do that to another city department, whether it's fire or someone else. And Chief Otten's a great partner and colleague, and I would never want to do that to him.
Councilmember Lawson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm supportive of the program, but Chief, I would like for you to consider, especially, I don't know what the backlog of accident reports, witness statements are. I'm not sure what all of that is. I don't have that data. But with some of the things that we get from constituents, from stolen cars and, firecrackers and just everything that's happening in the city, I would hope that maybe you would consider to maybe have some of these individuals be on some of those property crime, things like that, because those are some of the real needs of the city. I know that they're supposed to go out with an officer, but to really help the city, I think some of those things that we hear on an everyday basis on, our Ring cameras and, we're getting from constituents, I would hope that maybe you would explore some of those individuals in those efforts as well, because I think that would be very beneficial to the city.
Mayor, I completely agree with you, Councilmember. What we want to do is first we want to put together the actual program. We want to offer the policies to y'all, and then the mission in terms of what the challenges are. There are going to be people that want to come back that are older police officers that maybe their bodies. It's tough to get in and out of that police car, trust me. I do it on a regular basis. But they might want to help with investigations. They might want to be looking at Ring videos and helping our frontline police officers and investigators with investigations. So there's a lot of opportunities. We have people in the past that have a financial background that want to work on identity theft and other crimes of economic crime. So there's a myriad of things they can do, and it'll be based on the needs, obviously, of the organization at that time.
Okay.
Mayor.
Further, Councilmember Sundberg.
Thanks, Chief. What is your available pool of candidates looking like right now? Do you have a solid number, or how many are interested?
For which program?
For the reserve program.
You know what, Councilmember, it's a great question. I think until the council passes it, the actual ordinance, there is interest. I know that Councilmember Jurenski has received emails. I've received inquiries. There's people from the previous program that are interested in coming back and helping, and we've even had some of our recently retired officers. Once you're done with your honeydews that you may have, then you now what? And so some folks actually want to give back. There's a great love for our city, for this community, by the men and women of the Aurora Police Department. And some that have left now want to come back and try to help as well. So there's interest, and then time will tell just how much of that interest, how much it grows.
Okay.
Further discussion.
Mayor.
Councilmember Murillo.
Thank you. And I want to thank my colleagues for the work that they've done to improve this ordinance. As you all know, this is not something that I have supported or will support. There's deep mistrust with the police department and community, especially in Ward 1. We can't forget Elijah McClain. We can't forget what's happened. And while I'm hopeful under the consent decree that we will be in a much better place for it with these structural and cultural shifts within the department, a few years does not, to me, create enough time for that to truly, that culture shift to truly take place. And so I can't in good faith support this type of effort, though with some of the changes, I support the limiting of the scope, the increased qualifications in order to qualify, but similarly to Councilmember Lawson, if we are going to move this forward, I would recommend and ask that we focus on areas of need like our backlog. We've had presentations in the past addressing the very large backlog of processing police records. I would prefer that folks who are actively engaging with the training and actively working in the department be reserved for these higher level calls. A part-time, volunteer, they're not the same, it's not the same level of engagement and training and learning that you would receive as a full-time officer. So I just have very deep concerns and reservations, though I am hopeful given the changes, but I just can't in good faith support. But yeah, thank you.
Well, Chief, will the department establish some type of remedial course or refresher course, even though officers are post-certified and they left the department, they're coming back, will you provide some type of syllabus for them prior to them going out?
Mayor, yes, that's a great question. The answer is yes. If a person's been separated for any significant amount of time, they're going to have to go through training requirements. Even if a post doesn't require it, we're going to want them to certify with our academy staff, including qualifying with firearms, knowing our policies and procedures. So there will be training that's required by the state and by post, and then we will have additional training and certification with our own organization for anyone that would come and serve in our department. And I would add to, I understand Councilmember Murillo's concerns, but one of the things that I think that reservists usually, if done right, it's usually older individuals, usually people that are more established with more experience, more of a track record, and I think you end up having a more mature, experienced individual that comes through the door. So I'm hopeful that will really show that these will be good candidates that we have coming forward, and hopefully you will be pleased with the results in the future.
And Mayor, if I could just for somebody who has experience, I'll tell you, reserve officers, they're excited to do whatever the PD needs them to do. I can talk from experience. I mean, if we're going to get out there, we're going to be able to answer firework calls or do whatever. That's exciting. I know it sounds like boring to a lot of officers, but it's exciting to the reserve officers to be able to get back like that, just from experience.
Right. Further questions?
Mayor.
Councilmember McConnell.
Thank you, sir. So first, my question is actually relevant to one of our residents. Can you speak a little bit to our current training for how officers can interact with people with special needs?
For our officers?
How our officers are trained to interact with people with special needs.
Yeah, it's required by state law, by post requirements that we actually have, not just ongoing, not just initial training, but ongoing training for the department. We're about to roll out training with our new use of force policies that the entire department has completed. And one of the things that I want to commend Chief Morris for is in inserting a bias component to every one of the scenarios. We're now moving in September into the scenario piece for this, which is hands-on training, scenario-based training, and we want to ensure that we include one of them make sure not too many officers are listening, we're probably going to have a non-English speaking person in a scenario to see how the officers respond. I would like to have a special needs person in the scenario to see how officers respond. Maybe we will have one of the actors that will show some behavioral patterns that may be indicative of someone with intellectual disabilities or, anything that might there's clues to these things, right? That autism, I have a nephew that's autistic, and so we are not only is it required, we weren't required to do these scenarios, but we chose as a department that we don't want to just check a box. We want to exceed the requirements, and that will be a big part of it. So that's coming in September.
Great. Mayor?
Please proceed.
Thank you, sir. So just to clarify, and I believe I know the answer, but all of our volunteers will be required to go through this as well, correct?
Yes.
Fantastic.
And that it's in addition to what was required by the consent decree, and we're proud to exceed the requirements.
Great. And I also received some concerns again this morning before council from residents, and I just want to clarify on the record that what you're going to get tonight potentially is a green light to begin to formulate the policies for this program, but that you're committed to doing resident and community stakeholding about this program, and then we'll either have a presentation or maybe a resolution come through next year when you're really ready to kick the program off, right? They'll have to be approved by council.
We'll come back with the policy through the Public Safety Committee, yes.
Fantastic. And then one last thing here. In addition to some of the comments that Councilmember Lawson and Murillo both brought up, one of the asks that I got from a community member earlier today was that these folks be unarmed and help with some of those lower priority calls, but ones that typically have a longer lag for response because they're deprioritized. Is that something that we're able to work into the program, at least at the beginning?
Well, we'll look at that, but typically when you go out as a reserve officer, normally they're armed. Remember, this is not your citizen right off of the street. These are seasoned police officers, people with at least 5 years of experience. And so I know there's such thing as a technical reserve officers, but they normally aren't in the field. They are usually working out of the station. So we can look at that level for folks that may be interested, because there may be individuals that want to be part of the reserve program but don't want to be armed. We could have that kind of option for individuals, but then you'd have to be very selective as to what assignments they get, because you want to make sure nobody gets hurt, especially if I remember the community is calling you, the fireworks turn out to be something other than fireworks, which sometimes it's hard to tell the difference, which we've been having way too many lately, not in Aurora, because seems like the media likes to focus on Aurora, but I would argue that we're safer than another big city that's in our region, and our crime is actually going down. So,
Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I'd like to motion to call for the question. We're bringing up things that are not relevant and making proposals that are completely outside of the scope of this ordinance. So I'd call for the question.
Motion before us is call for the question. Is there a second?
Sundberg.
It's moved by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Councilmember Sundberg to call for the question. Call for the question.
Mayor Kaufman, this vote is to end debate.
Correct.
Do you vote
correct.
yes?
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Coombs?
No.
The motion passes with 9 yes votes and 2 no votes from Councilmember Coombs and Councilmember Murillo.
Question before us now is the adoption of item number 14A. Call for the question.
Mayor, we never had a motion or a second for this.
Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry. On the proposal itself. Councilmember Jurenski.
Yes, a motion to approve item 14A.
Moved by Councilmember Jurenski, seconded by, I'm sorry?
Zvonik.
Seconded by Councilmember Zvonik to approve item number 14A. Call for the question.
Councilmember Coombs?
Sorry, I got logged out. No.
The motion passes to adopt item 14A with 8 yes votes, 2 no votes from Councilmember Coombs and Councilmember Murillo.
Clerk now, would the clerk now please read the title of item number 14B?
Item 14B is finalizing of ordinance 2023-39, prohibiting the selling or disposing of dogs or cats other than those obtained from an animal shelter, nonprofit humane society, or nonprofit animal rescue organization. And Mayor, we have 15 people signed up to speak on this item.
Very well.
Okay. The
Please
first
proceed with the
person
speakers.
is Jens Larson, followed by Bianca Larson.
Good evening, council members again. Mayor Kaufman, thanks for having me up again. I was here last week as well, or 2 weeks ago. The reason I'm up here, I have a pet store in Centennial. I've operated it for 30 years. Somebody asked, well, why are you worried about the Aurora thing? Well, because it's right next door, and the wave of the animal rights activists and the Humane Society is pretty much to go city to city and pretty much extinguish our business. It got beat at the state level, where we had a lot more time to represent better and have more opposition against things like this. But unfortunately, we're only 9 pet stores in Colorado that sell dogs. A lot of them are Colorado Springs, Fountain, Fort Collins, so people have trouble getting here. Another way to look at it is, why would I be up here defending, my business when I could just have somebody in Aurora not open up against me? Because I believe the whole concept of what the other side is trying to do here to extinguish my business is absolutely wrong. We do not buy our dogs from puppy mills. Puppy mills basically describe the word dirty, nasty, bad conditions. They're licensed and regulated. They get checked out by the USDA and the state. I have sent all of you emails with clean bills of health, inspections that are 100%. How would you feel if you owned a restaurant and the Department of Health told you, hey, everything looks great, and all of a sudden somebody wants to shut you down because you have maggots in your store and rats running around, which is totally unfounded? There's something called Google reviews, okay? You can read mine. A lot of them are very erroneous and incorrect, and they just make slanderous statements against me. They say I beat my dogs at night. I inject them with medicines and sleeping pills and things like that. All these things are totally unfounded. We closed yesterday at 6 o'clock. I didn't leave the store till 9. I stayed there and cleaned up for the pets, and I got a rule that I stay there until every animal is taken care of and everything's clean and healthy. Another one of the things they like to say is that our animals die horrible deaths at a young age, and that people buy them and they succumb to illnesses at an early age. Where do you get these statistics from? I've been in business 30 years. I am here to tell you that my own daughter, who's here, has a dog from our store that's 12 years old. That little dog runs around like a happy little puppy. We sold this to very distinguished people in the community. One of our breeders sold to well-known Kim Kardashian. Her name's Butterfield. We buy boxers from her. So ironically, she's a perfect breeder. She's Kim Kardashian's breeder. But the minute that dog comes to my pet store, it's now from a puppy mill. That whole concept is really wrong. I emailed all you guys an article written by Doug Johnson. Doug Johnson is a dog breeder, also a trainer in Colorado Springs. He sat on the PACFA board for 19 years. He was AKC's Dog Breeder of the Year in 2006 and 2016. Why would he have an interest in defending me? Because he knows the statements that are made are slanderous and wrong, and he thinks by passing this ordinance, you will facilitate backyard breeders and underground breeders with no responsibility. So hopefully you guys all had a chance to look at that.
Your time is up. Sorry.
3 minutes already?
Yes.
Oh, my God. Okay. One last thing, if I could, please. Who's going to be up here next? Chick-fil-A, Mike Shanahan, steakhouses, the Tesla guy, the guy who's not using gasoline cars. I mean, somewhere it has to end.
Bianca Larson, followed by Susan Kabir. Wait, Susan, Bianca's first. I'm sorry, Bianca Larson, and then you go next.
Hi. Thank you also for allowing me to speak before you. I am Bianca Larson. I am the manager of Perfect Pets and daughter of Jens Larson. We obviously are a small, local, family-owned business. We have been in 30 years. And that's 30 years of providing lovable, healthy companions for families and children. Puppies that have a full health guarantee, they have their shots up to date, they have a known history and happy parents. When I say, yeah, we only get our dogs from reputable USDA licensed breeders, we have proof of that. It has also been emailed to you. I'm not sure what proof, stands against or what other people that are going to speak behind me. They say Mills. Where's your proof that they're from Mills? We have pictures of our facilities of where our dogs come from. By passing this law, you in turn are pushing people to find their puppies from other sources. What are those other sources? They are rescues or shelters, and also, the online. That's one of the main places people go if they want a purebred dog. They have to go online. People, when they get their dog online, or when breeders, quote, quote, breeders, or anyone sells their dog online, they are not required to follow any laws or regulations. So how do people have any proof that they're actually doing things correctly? We have all the proof that we are following and doing things correctly, and it's in the USDA inspections. It's in PACFA. We follow those laws. Show me proof that any of those, other sources that people have to go to when they want to get a purebred dog, there is no proof that they're following any laws or regulations. You get the dog online, you meet them privately. They don't let you come to their places. We did rescue puppies for over 3 years. We had to quarantine these dogs because why? They were unhealthy, they had parasites. We did everything we could, shots, preventatives. And 10% of these dogs that were leaving our store were these rescue puppies, and our problems skyrocketed. And unlike the rescues, we actually stand behind the health of other animals. I want to bring quick attention. In California, they ban the sale of puppies in pet stores. I have had a lot of customers come and fly out to Colorado to get dogs from me. I ask them, what did this law create? Number one, a huge drastic increase in scams online. Number two, private breeders, local private breeders, their prices have skyrocketed. Number three, the rise of unregulated and often unethical backyard breeders. People should have a choice. My best friend, who was not my best friend at the time, got a little Yorkie from our store. I didn't even know her. And then why did she get a Yorkie at our store? Her son had severe allergies. She got a rescue kitten that had major health problems, and it actually caused her kid to have asthma from there on. So she came to our store and wanted to look at a large array of hypoallergenic dogs. How many people of you know someone who has had a dog with a problem that it got at a rescue?
Thank you.
Anyway, thank you.
Susan Kabir, followed by Esther Copland.
Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council, thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity to speak on behalf of those without a voice, namely the puppies and kittens sold through retail pet stores. The sources for retail pet sales are primarily commercial breeders breeding for money and not for the health and welfare of the animals. Now, dogs have been selected for hundreds, if not thousands of years based on their desire to be with and work with humans. Now, they have an inbred, real, and urgent need for daily human socialization. Commercial breeders who mass produce puppies and kittens deny dogs and cats in their cages and kennels this very daily socialization that the animals badly need. As a nation, we need to move ahead by educating the public about this neglect and help consumers get puppies and kittens from humane sources, such as shelters, rescues, and responsible breeders. And I hope you will support the ordinance before you. Thank you.
Esther Copland, followed by Stephen Kanges.
Oh, wow. I have not done this for a long time, and I'm a retired third grade teacher. I'm not real familiar with all the lingo. I've got pages of things I was going to say, and all of a sudden, no, that's out the window. I just want to say that I taught my children to believe in respect for all living beings. And we all here probably have animals at home. They're 70% of all U.S. households do. I better speak fast. I'm going to get that beeper going. I just want to say that it has been proven that pet stores that sell puppies have been lying about where they get them from. And I don't care about the USDA because we all know that there are a lot of things that are passed that are overlooked and ineffective. And I encourage you to look into these facts for yourself, and especially what Pam Dickerson said, who has been studying this for a very long time, and give all the statistics you want. It is these puppies come from puppy mills. The parents are in cages. They never leave those cages until they don't want them anymore. They can't reproduce anymore. And so they just get rid of them. And there are fortunately some mill rescues. Shelters and rescues, they won't even let you have a dog unless they see what kind of living environment you have. This is what we need to investigate. And until you can really see what's going on in these pet stores, why can't they just sell supplies? They can have a very nice, we're not trying to extinguish anybody, but when you have an animal, you got to know where it came from, and you got to know where it's going. And the statistics will show that it's not good from pet stores. It's pathetic, it's sad, and the whole puppy mill thing is sad. And this is just a start of trying to keep it out of Aurora. Don't let them seep into this city and then more and more of this corruption for these poor little animals that cannot speak for themselves, living in these deplorable conditions. And I thank those of you who have brought this, sponsored this, and come up to the attention. And I know you've had a lot of other important things going on here, homeless and security, and that's all important too, but don't underestimate the importance of these furry friends that have helped us in so many ways, both with the police and with the, I mean, we don't need to get into all the things they do, and for therapy, and it goes on and on and on. And look and see where these pet stores are getting their puppies from. Look into it yourselves and think about why are they so needing to sell the puppies when they've got plenty of supplies. And let them bring in some rescues. Let them really, really give the sources, because you're not going to know. Whatever they want to say, they can say. It's, hey, I've got more time. I've got a lot more to say here. I just hope you'll hear this. I hope you'll really hear this and look into it for yourselves and look at the statistics. This is so important. These are animals that serve us in so many ways. Puppies deserve it, and their parents.
Stephen Canges, followed by Pamela Dickerson.
Hello. My name is Steve Canges. I ask that you support the ordinance to ban the retail sale of puppies and kittens through the pet stores, joining the 474 local communities nationwide and 7 states which have banned the retail sale of puppies and kittens in pet stores. These 474 communities in 7 states have looked at the severe neglect and cruelty in the puppy mill industry and taken a stand that they will not support this. Puppy mills will cease to exist only when their main outlets, pet stores, stop buying their puppies for resale. Please join these communities who understand the puppy mill cruelty and are refusing to support it any longer. As a community, we can become the solution by supporting this ordinance to ban the resale of puppies and kittens. Thank you for your consideration.
Pamela Dickerson, followed by Paula Wilcox.
I spoke earlier. Would you like for me to repeat it, what I
Paula Wilcox.
My name is Paula Wilcox. I am a resident of Aurora, and I just am here to support and tell you I'm in full agreement with this ordinance that will prohibit the resale of the puppies, the kittens, the dogs, cats, from these puppy mills. They should be able to show some authentic proof of where they got these animals and be totally prohibited from any that come from a puppy mill. Thank you.
Paula Wilcox. Oh, I'm sorry. Jessica Nab, followed by Kara Thorson.
Hi, my name is Jessica Nab. I've spoken here before. I just wanted to address some things that have come up with the opposition. There was an article written in the Denver Gazette op-ed section, which stands for opinion editorial. It's not an unbiased news source. And the person that wrote that is employed by the AKC, and the AKC opposes all of these ordinances because pet stores and breeders, they get paid for the dogs that are registered. The people who do register are pet stores. The people who typically don't or don't see a need is rescues and shelters, so they don't support rescues and shelters. No one that has spoken is even affiliated with HSUS, so I don't know why that's coming up. I'm a teacher, and the person that originally spoke with me, she's a retired teacher. We have no interest in this other than we want to see Aurora do it. Thank you.
Kara Thorson, followed by Scott Carmen.
Good evening. I'm Kara Thorson. I'm here to support an ordinance against selling cats and dogs in retail stores because I care about animals. There's been some people who came up here that own pet stores talking about USDA licensing, so I'd like to address that and what it means exactly. Pet stores and their suppliers, known as puppy and kitten mills, are licensed by the USDA. The USDA has no limit to the number of animals on the premises. A puppy mill could have hundreds or thousands of dogs. There is no requirement on the number of staff that must be available to care for these animals. There can be one person on staff caring for 500 animals, for example. Dogs can be kept in stacked cages. They relieve themselves in the cages. Feces and urine spills on the animals below. The USDA allows animals to be kept in cages only 6 inches larger than their bodies. That does not include the tail. The law does not require that animals in cages have enough room to turn around. Animals may be legally caged 24 hours a day for their entire life, which can mean 10 or 15 years of extreme confinement. Animals can be housed indoors or out with minimal temperature regulation. Wire flooring is allowed and no bedding of any kind is required, leaving animals unable to sleep comfortably or keep warm. And yet, with these bare minimum, survival-only USDA requirements, puppy and kitten mills often have violations because of sick animals and unsanitary conditions. This licensing does not guarantee humane treatment, and that's why this ordinance is so important. Thank you.
Scott Carmen, followed by Cheryl Sape.
Good evening. My name is Scott Carmen, and I'm here to support the ordinance prohibiting the sale of dogs and cats in retail establishments. I just wanted to take a moment to point out that right now the Aurora Animal Shelter website states, please note that our dog kennels are at capacity and we are currently unable to accept any dogs at this time. Since the shelter is currently filled with animals eagerly awaiting homes, selling puppies and kittens in pet stores is unnecessary and will only undermine the efforts of the Aurora Animal Shelter to get their animals adopted. Thank you.
Cheryl Sape, followed by Tanya Tabachek.
Good evening. I'm Cheryl Sape. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. I'm speaking in favor of the ordinance. I want to make 2 points. One, I just want to reiterate what was just said. The USDA allows an animal to live in a cage its entire life that is no bigger than it is in 6 inches larger than the animal is in each dimension. So to say that a facility is licensed by the USDA, it's animal cruelty. My second point is that the animal groups like small businesses. We are in favor of small family businesses, and the United States Humane Society has a program to help pet stores switch to what they call the humane model, and it has been proven that pet stores can make the same or more money when they start selling supplies, food, treats, coats, all that kind of thing. Food, people have to go back weekly, monthly. You get people coming in, customers, more than just one time to buy a dog. So there is an avenue for pet stores. It's not to put them out of business. So thank you for your time.
Tanya Tabachek, followed by Michelle Jancic.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I am in support of this agreement. I myself have 3 rescue dogs, and they're older dogs. We also gotten cats that were older, and some were sick. There's no pets that are not perfect. So my opinion is for it, and we're not trying to, with this ordinance, we're not trying to get rid of any pet store and diminish or extinguish their business. I go to pet stores a lot just for dog food for 3 dogs. And another thing is, I was reading off of this USDA saying current USDA regulations require bare minimum survival standards, allowing breeders to keep breeding dogs behind bars from birth until death. But my main thing that I want to really stress is, I was young, I did get dogs and stuff for pet stores, but the more I thought about it when I was at shelters, you see them take out dogs to go for walks and so forth. I don't know if that store in Centennial or whatever, I don't even know the puppy stores that were here in Aurora, if they took their dogs out for walks, or they were always in cages and they didn't go out. But I just want to really stress that the rescue dogs, whether they're sick, ill, old, young, they're lovable, just like pet store dogs and pet store cats. Just want to say that. Thank you.
Michelle Jancic, followed by Natalia Bruno.
Hi, I'm Michelle Jancic, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you about this really important issue. I am not a resident of Aurora, but I have been fostering shelter puppies through a rescue group in Aurora since 2009, so that's 14 years, I believe. I have 2 foster puppies at home right now. If I'm not mistaken, the Colorado State pet is, or the Colorado State animal is the shelter pet. And the 400 puppies that I have fostered are all different breeds. There's also, I don't know if you're familiar, but if people are wanting a choice on what breed to adopt, they can look on adoptapet.com or petfinder.com. They can search by breed, age, gender. And there are rescue groups devoted to different breeds. I myself love a breed called the Alaskan Klekai, which is a miniature husky, and all of ours are rescue dogs. I have 5 at home right now. I have adopted 6 of the Alaskan Klekais from the National Mill Dog Rescue. So when they came from the puppy mills and they spent years in cages, really the size of a phone booth. I guess if any of you are old enough to remember what a phone booth is, except that we could turn around in a phone booth. But these animals, they spent years in these cages that they couldn't turn around in on a wire, on the wire bottoms. My little dog, Forrest, he's 10 years old. He has sores from his feet from standing on his own feces in those cages. Several of my dogs, their tongues hang out because all their teeth rotted out when they spent years in those cages. They didn't get veterinary care. They were forced to drink from rabbit water bottles, which doesn't put enough water in their mouth to wash away the excess food. So a lot of their teeth, 22 teeth, I think, in one of my dogs had to be removed. So I would really like to ask you to please pass this ordinance. The suffering is unimaginable. The parents of these puppies, what they go through, and when the breeders at the puppy mills decide that they're no longer worth anything because they're not profitable, then they just kill them. Fortunately, some of the rescues can get those puppies from the owners of the puppy mills and adopt them out, so at least they can have 2 or 3 good years at the end of their lives, and that they can have a name and not just be a number.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Natalia Bruno, followed by Brittany Bremholtz.
Hi, my name's Natalia. Speaking is not my strong suit, so please bear with me. I feel it is today my moral obligation to speak for the voiceless. The pain and suffering that those mothers, they go through. It's not legal for humans for a reason to be forced to bred. And regardless of how they're doing it, the pain that those mother dogs go through to give birth, it's very painful for them. The emotional distress as well. I have a mother dog as well that I rescued from a rescue, and I think and I look at her and I am so glad that she's not forced to be bred. So I know that there's a lot of us that have animals in Colorado, and I just want you to think of the animal that you have and be thankful that they're not forced to bred. The first step is banning it within the city of Aurora in Colorado to take these puppies out of the puppy mills. And overall, the mission is to take the shelters out of business. Thank you.
Okay, we have Brittany Bremholtz, and then one caller on the call-in line.
Hi, thanks for having us. For over a decade, I've spent countless hours each week away from my family trying to place animals with no place to go into loving homes. There was a time when it felt like the work was putting a dent in the killing of healthy animals, but that time has passed. The problem is overwhelming, it's multifaceted, and the solution is clear and achievable. My daughter is here today as she gives a lot. She's grown up in animal rescue, and I'd like for the adults in this room to be able to look at her and tell her that she and her generation are not going to inherit this suffering. It's not difficult to understand where the public is coming from. If there's so many widgets that the widgets are being dumped on the side of the road, you stop making widgets. I'm sorry to the widget makers, but it's 2023 in America, and many of us have been made to pivot. An article in the Gazette quoted a gentleman who personally opposed to 14B based on the success of his business. The quote states that the shelters are full of black dogs, pit bulls, and shepherds, and that pet stores serve a different clientele, and that they don't want these dogs. But the problem is transcended breeds, and this quote is patently false. There's nothing special about a pet store dog that prevents them from being dumped in a shelter. At this very moment, I'm caring for over a dozen designer breed dogs that could be sold in pet stores. They're unwanted, and they fell into rescue. So I'm working again to clean up the mess of breeders. It's less about whether or not the pet store dogs get sick and die early. I doubt that's the case. It's about the ethics of creating life for a person's profit when there's so many already with no place to go. Until there's no pet who is killed simply because there's no place for them to go, there should be no breeding. To say that rescues are adopting out sick animals is a slap in the face. The reason that they get sick is because they have nowhere to go, so they have to be sheltered. That's where they get sick, and they're there because there is nowhere else for them to go, and they don't get vaccinated at a young age, and so they're susceptible. They get parvo and they die. Further, you can't say that USDA licensing and passing inspections is social proof of ethical breeding, and in the same breath claim rescues and shelters are adopting out sick and damaged animals. They also have strict licensing and inspections that they must pass. Pick a side. There's a name for a person who profits off of the sexual reproduction of females, and it is not a pet store owner.
Okay, now we have the call-in line.
Elizabeth, go ahead. You have 3 minutes. Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Elizabeth Orrick. I'm the National Manager of Puppy Mill Initiatives for Best Friends Animal Society, and I'm here on behalf of our Colorado members, supporters, and partners to thank you for your support of a humane pet sales ordinance and for being poised to join 13 other cities in Colorado that have already enacted this sensible and effective policy. Pet stores rely on commercial pet mills to supply their inventory because ethical breeders won't sell to pet stores because it's not financially viable and they don't sell to third parties. And you can find this pledge, never to sell a pet store, in every reputable breeder's code of ethics, including virtually all of the parent breed clubs of the American Kennel Club and the National Cat Fanciers. Although the commercial breeders who do sell to pet stores may be regulated by the USDA, as you've heard, the federal care standards do not ensure quality breeding or humane life for animals that ethical breeders provide. The substandard breeding occurring in these mostly out-of-state facilities that Aurora has no way of regulating or inspecting means that unsuspecting buyers are often faced with a pet having physical, genetic, and psychological problems that can cause them to be surrendered to shelters when the emotional toll and the vet bills become insurmountable. And then they become the shelter's problem, the community's problem, and the problem of the taxpayers and the donors who subsidize those shelters. It doesn't make sense to keep importing animals into the state and into Aurora while so many healthy, treatable, adoptable dogs and cats are dying for a lack of home. Pet stores that sell commercially bred pets can choose to be part of the solution rather than the problem by phasing out the sale of animals in favor of other common revenue streams, such as product sales, grooming, and daycare, and by offering space for animal rescue organizations to adopt out animals from those stores, as the majority of pet stores across the country already do with great success. So this ordinance would not prevent any Aurora pet stores from doing business. And remember, we're talking about Aurora and not any other city, but it would alleviate a significant burden on local shelters and rescue groups by increasing pet adoptions. Further, it would not prevent anyone from purchasing a pet directly from a private breeder, so they would still have a wide array of choice when looking to bring a pet into the family. Best Friends and our Colorado partners, supporters, and staff hope that you will take this important second step to protect pets, consumers, and taxpayers in Aurora, and I really appreciate your consideration of this issue and for giving me the opportunity to share our support with you. Thank you so much.
Brief presentation by staff.
Thank you. Trevor Vaughn, Manager of Licensing. This ordinance prohibits the sale of dogs and cats in pet stores or from commercial operations. It does allow pet stores to partner with licensed animal rescues as well as animal shelters.
Questions of staff?
I have a question, Mayor.
Councilmember Berger.
Thank you. Trevor, so if a pet store, would a pet store be able to then work with a shelter to have like a day at the pet store with rescues that they bring in versus having them in the cages?
Yes.
They would be able to do that?
I think ideally that's how that works. Is that how your partnerships?
They would have that capability. Whether the rescue worked with them or not would be a different relationship they'd have to work out.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Further questions of staff? Seeing none, the motion is in order.
Mayor,
Councilmember Jurenski.
motion to approve item 14B.
Moved by Councilmember Jurenski, seconded by?
Marcano.
Second by Councilmember Marcano to approve item number 14B. Discussion?
Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. I'm not going to run through the laundry list of straw men that were brought up tonight by those public commenters that are in favor of this ordinance. You know, are there good pet store owners? Yeah. Are there bad pet store owners? Yeah. Are there good rescues? Yeah. Are there bad rescues? Yeah. You know, there's good and bad on both sides. I think really what the question is in front of us, and really where I want to plant my flag is, am I going to join in banning a business in Aurora for no reason other than there's the potential for there to be negative? This cell phone right here contains rare earth minerals that are strip mined in the Congo using child labor. Are we going to ban Apple iPhones? You know, I could go on and on with things that we could ban here in Aurora. And I know some of you like dogs more than people, and that's fine. You know, I don't. I like people more. But we can agree to disagree. But the bottom line is, I'm not going to go down this road of banning businesses in Aurora just because I don't like what might happen in the process of getting that product here. It's a legal business. There are certainly bad pet store owners, but there are good pet store owners too. And this is a really slippery slope, and I am not going to be part of it.
Further discussion?
Mayor Zvonek.
Councilmember Zvonek.
Yeah, I just want to agree with Mayor Pro Tem Gardner. I think that the thing that worries me the most is that we're about to send a message in Aurora that there are businesses that we're saying, look, you can say you're going to comply with every federal, state, and local regulation, but you're not welcome here. And I think that's a bad precedent to set. I mean, if you ban pets from being, or dogs from being sold in pet stores, this isn't going to solve the problem. I agree. I mentioned this last week when it was, or last time when it was up. I agree with the intent. But you're going to still have the ability for puppy mills to sell directly to individuals, which is much harder to regulate because when you're dealing with a private business, they can lose their license for not following the federal and state laws that are put in place. If anything, we could create a local ordinance, although there are no pet stores currently operating in Aurora, so it probably wouldn't be hard to enforce that from a local level, from a local perspective. I would much rather see us, if there's a regulation problem, that's where we need to address our focus. We need to make sure that the FDA standards are up to par if they're not. But banning any sort of business in the city of Aurora is the wrong direction, I believe, for this council to go.
Further discussion? Seeing
Mayor.
none. I'm sorry, Councilmember Jaworski.
I thought there was going to be a whole lot of comments, but so I will wrap this up. I am proud to sponsor this ordinance, and thank you, Councilmember Marcano, for co-sponsoring this with me. Turns out two things I love are police and puppies. And that's fine. And to Councilmember Gardner, you say that you love people more than puppies, but just last week when we were talking about this, you sent me pictures of your dog and said she's your baby and absolutely a family member. So I just wanted to clear that up real quick. And then I wanted to say—
Mayor, can I respond to that?
Councilmember Jaworski has the floor.
So I wanted to bring up Pet Palace, also a 30-year pet business in Aurora. They've never once sold puppies or kittens. I talked to them, and they did tell me that there can be some gray area as far as that goes. And I do agree with a statement that was made. Puppy mills are around for a reason. There's a reason why there are still puppy mills. Again, there are no current businesses in Aurora that this is affecting. If we were talking about specifically, someone's livelihood, someone, but we're not. There's not currently one business, and there hasn't been since the last Pet City was shut down in 2020. And it's amazing to me that they were shut down for unpaid taxes because at the time of their closure, I think there was 44 puppies seized. If you guys remember the size of the Pet Palace in the Aurora Mall, let's just talk about this. There was 44 puppies seized. There was kittens. There was hamsters. There was rabbits. There was ferrets. I mean, a whole zoo seized. So it's interesting to me that they were shut down for taxes and not for the conditions that were in there, because I very much remember the conditions of that Pet City and the Pet City at the Buckingham Mall. So tonight, there's been 2 people that have come forward in opposition. Both of them have a vested interest in this industry, and I do respect business owners. I myself am a business owner, and you talked about wanting to compare Chick-fil-A or Shanahan's, and you asked if you own a restaurant, how would you feel? Well, turns out I do own a restaurant, a couple of them, and we're talking about living beings. We are talking about living beings, not goods or services sold. We are talking about living beings. So that is the only opposition that has come forward tonight is a business owner out of Centennial. So I urge my colleagues to remember who you represent. You represent the constituents of this city. Many we've heard from tonight. The only opposition we've heard is one business owner that has a vested interest that is not in this city. I would also like to let everybody know, PACFA that we keep hearing about, that these pet stores, have to follow these rules. PACFA has absolutely no authority. They have no authority. That's probably why when Pet Palace was shut down, it was shut down for taxes and not the entire zoo that was fit into like 800 square feet. That's my guess. Also, on cage cards in puppy stores, well, they're supposed to have cage cards. Some don't have cage cards. There's been 2 specific ones that have been brought to my attention. One is Pet Ranch. One is in Fort Collins. Both of these are in Fort Collins. I'm not even going to pull up the email. But you can look up the breeder number on a cage card. You can look up the breeder number. Those cages in pet stores that have 4 or 5 dogs in them. You can look up the cage cards, and you can use a public search tool that the USDA provides, and you can look up the specific breeder. There are multiple current violations on these private pet stores. This is public information, and yet they're not shut down. There's one breeder. First of all of these violations are listed. This is a public tool that the USDA provides. All of these violations are listed currently on these 2 specific pet stores in Colorado. And I found out things, just a simple search. These breeders these are inaccurate names. These are not, in fact, their real names on these cage cards. Some of these private breeders have over 800 dogs in their possession. And let me also bring up, there is no actual definition of a puppy mill. So does anybody have the authority to shut down an organization that has 800 dogs running around? Maybe we don't care. Also, too, had someone look into Perfect Pets because wanted to look into reviews on the breeders that you work with. We were not able to use the USDA numbers on your cage cards because they're not provided. That is actually a PACFA violation, but again, PACFA has no authority to do anything about that. And sir, you can run your business however you want to run your business. You are in Centennial. We are in Aurora. It is proven on a public website. It is proven. Violation after violation after violation. And yet, there is no authority to shut these places down. So at some point, yes, government has to protect the voiceless. And that is our job up here. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem. Further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of item number 14B. Call for the question.
The motion passes with 7 yes votes, 3 no votes from Councilmember Zvonek, Mayor Pro Tem Gardner, and Councilmember Sundberg.
Reports, Mayor's report. I attended or observed a wellness court proceeding today, and just want to say how impressive it was. Judge Peter Frigo presided over it, same judge that does the Armed Forces treatment court, and just very impressive to see how these people who had suffered from drug addiction and a number of other issues were given deferred sentences and in exchange for doing a number of affirmative things to get their lives back in order. Councilmember Lawson.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to first start out and say I want to give my condolences and prayers to the families, to Jacksonville, Florida, and also to the families of the victims. You know, I don't know when this violence is going to stop, but you shouldn't have to go into a store and not know that you may not come out of that store because of your race, your culture, or your beliefs, or just your identity. And so I want to give that city and also the families prayers and condolences. On a lighter note, my Pfizer update, the Congress is looking and passing a congressional resolution to temporarily fund the government until a budget can be passed. As a reminder, the federal fiscal year ends September 30th. Governor Polis recently signed an executive order to boost affordable housing, specifically to prioritize sustainable housing development centered near public transportation. Earlier this month, Aurora Water led the community leaders on an overnight trip to learn and see about the extensive infrastructure needed to bring water to our city. Next month, myself, as the chair of Pfizer and the mayor, will begin with state officials to discuss drafting legislation and priorities for 2024. And on Sunday, myself, interim directorate city manager, and police chief Acevedo, deputy police chief, Councilmember Marcano, we all attended the 60th anniversary on a March on Washington at Restoration Christian Fellowship. So it was a very good service in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King and his speech on Washington. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem Gardner.
This past Saturday was happy National Dog Day, so happy National Dog Day to all who celebrate. That's all I had.
Okay. Let's see, Councilmember Jaworski.
Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Gardner, who I don't know if he likes dogs or doesn't like dogs, but we attended Global Fest together, and that was a ton of fun. We got to support our police and fire out there, and it was really cool to see the new flags that were added this year, so it was a great event.
Thank you. Councilmember Zvonek.
No report.
Let's see, Councilmember Murillo.
Thanks, Mayor. Just wanted to give an update. I'm going to have to cancel my September town hall and reschedule. I'll be coordinating with the Village Exchange Center to host a candidate forum for folks who are running for city council. It will be a nonpartisan event, and everyone will be invited to attend, and they're actually going to have the youth from the Village Exchange Center and partners help craft the topics and questions. So it'll be a really great event, and I encourage everyone who is running to join. I'll be reaching out once I have everyone's contact information. Thank you.
Councilmember Sundberg.
Thanks, Mayor. Let's see. You and I attended the Armed Forces Treatment Court where we witnessed a lady who has addicted, become sober for over a year, got a cool job at a hip hotel. She's got an apartment. She got a bike out of the deal, so we celebrated that. We visited the SEAM facility, Southeast Area Maintenance Facility for the Water Department, $140 million shiny new beautiful complex. We imagine buying a modular home, Mayor, like you can do a Tesla in a mall. You can do that now. We saw that with the HBA tour. Really interesting ideas happening with taking a 75-foot by 165-foot area of land in Denver where there might be a carriage house And the idea of putting 3 additional cottages on there as an additional dwelling unit, we looked at all kinds of really cool new ideas for housing, as we're 8,500 units short each year in Colorado and accruing as a shortage. As Ward 2 is an oil and gas producer, 16,000 barrels a day of oil are produced in Ward 2. I recently visited with our oil and gas manager a drilling rig, electrically operated, quiet, safe, drilling 8,000 feet down and 4 miles out. Yes, this is not really popular, but I visited a fracking operation. And then finally a third site where we have the fully developed wells for oil and gas. 70% of the things you touch contain petroleum on a daily basis. I will also be supporting a solar farm in between Dad's landfill and the Prairie Prairie Recreation Center that will require a variance by council. So I'm going to bring a letter to you guys pretty soon about a solar farm there where nothing else can be built. So there's all kinds of different energy production with research happening in Ward 2. Finally, the SROs, school resource officers, do incredibly important work in our schools. I support them, APS supports them, but DPS doesn't like them. I love those guys. And one important thing they do is, in order to build trust and relationship with students in high schools, they like to keep things like cup of noodles and a microwave and snacks, where the kids who might be too cool to, visit with a police officer, they'll come in there, they'll have a cup of noodles, and a lot of times these kids are hungry. So we met at Sam's Club on Thursday, 7:30 in the morning. We loaded a bunch of carts with snacks, food, and I want to thank our city management for helping to find some funds for that. God bless you. Thank you.
Councilmember Medina.
Thank you, Mayor. The only thing I've got is my next town hall will be Wednesday, September 6th, here at the AMC from 6:30 to 8 p.m.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Thank you, Mayor. So like Councilmember Lawson, I also had the opportunity to attend the 60th anniversary commemoration of Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech at Restoration Christian Ministries this last Sunday. It was a moving reminder that we have made progress, but we have a ways to go yet to achieve Dr. King's dream of racial and economic justice in our city and in our country. And I also want to thank Chief Acevedo, Deputy Chief Morris, City Manager Jason Batchelor, and Councilmember Lawson for being there as well. Our next Ward 4 meeting is going to be on Thursday, September 14th at 6:30 p.m. at Colorado Early Colleges. That is located at 1400 South Abilene Street. We're going to be discussing safer streets with an overview of the Vision Zero program and human scale development and how that makes our community safer for everybody. And my last Ward 4 meeting will actually be October, and we're going to have a Ward 4 candidate forum there. So I hope to see you guys then.
Councilmember Coombs.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So I was also able to attend the Armed Forces Treatment Court graduation last week, and that was really impressive. Hearing the person that was graduating speaking with their peers who they had gotten to know and support in the process of going through treatment, and kind of they have pro-social activities they do together. It was great to see, and I definitely plan to continue going back. I also attended the water tour and Global Fest. We had my Ward 5 Town Hall meeting this last Tuesday, and I want to thank Chief Otten for coming out, talking to the community, as well as Chief Acevedo, Pete Schulte, Councilmember Marcano and Councilmember Jurinsky for coming out to talk about the Police Reserve Program. And I want to thank all of them for really all of the effort that they did put into trying to make this the best ordinance that it can be. I think at the point that we're at right now, it probably was as good as it would get without further community outreach. But I did hear ongoing and continued concerns from folks in the community, and so I couldn't move forward with supporting it despite the very good changes and efforts that were made. So thank you.
Councilmember Bergen.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to say that thank you to Commander Brown and Par Officer Judy Lepkin and Sergeant Jay Van Camp for being at the tollgate crossing meeting last week. We had probably, 35, 40 people in attendance regarding a public safety incident. The meeting was very well executed in terms of giving the residents all the information about what had happened, and so I was very pleased with that. And then this week, E470, we have our annual retreat where we will be doing our annual strategic plan and goals. Looking forward to that. That's the end of my report.
Thanks, everybody. Meeting adjourned.